Welcome here to Talk FCB and welcome back to the channel, guys, because coming up today we are going to have a full injury update when it comes to the Barca players who are either on the sidelines in the short term but also the medium term and the long term as well. We've got plenty of news coming up for you today, of course ahead of that midweek game against Bayern Munich, but also looking further afield too. There's big games to come for this team, and of course Ronald Koeman is going to need every single player to be at their best and hopefully available. When can we expect these guys back? And when they are back, what sort of impact are they going to have? It's all coming up, so let's get to it. So if we indeed start right here with Sergiño Dest, because indeed during the international break the alarm bells did start ringing when Sergiño Dest was subbed off just before half-time whilst playing there in a World Cup qualifier between the United States and Canada. And like I say, he was subbed off there with a suspected ankle problem, and it has been since officially confirmed by the club that Dest suffered a sprained right ankle in that game, which in the grand scheme of things, a sprain is not the end of the world, but it does leave him in a real race against time right now to be fit to face Bayern on Tuesday. But right now, it has been reported that Dest is doing everything in his power to be ready for that Bayern game. I'm sure that he is, because look, as a player, these are the kind of games that you really do want to be involved in, fit or not. You want to try and get yourself in contention. But of course, should he not recover, should he not quite be available in time, that would be a big selection headache for Ronald Koeman. Given the fact that, of course, we no longer have Emerson as a backup for Dest, it would mean that possibly Oscar Mingueza could come in and play in that right back position, or even Sergi Roberto if Koeman wanted to go down that road. But let's just hope here that in these final days before Bayern, Dest, he wants to be ready, he's fighting to be fit, and if I had to guess, I would say he'll be involved. Up next, though, is Jordi Alba, because where things are probably even more troublesome are not at right back, but actually they're at left back, because Barca right now are seriously sweating over the fitness of Jordi Alba, because though Alba did indeed play the full 90 minutes against Sweden in Spain's first international match of this international break, but the concerning news came when Luis Enrique left Alba out against both Georgia and Kosovo in the two games that followed, with it being reported there that Alba had been suffering with some muscle discomfort, which would also make him there a big doubt to face Bayern, given the fact the game is coming around very, very quickly. And of course, also in the case of Jordi Alba, if he was not available, probably we're even more stretched in that area, because we only have Alejandro Balde, who could play at left back if Alba was not available, who conveniently enjoyed a very, very good game apparently in midweek in that training match there behind closed doors, played really well, did Alejandro Balde, but I do feel right now like Jordi Alba is going to be given every chance to be involved. Today, he didn't quite manage to complete the full training session, but he did do part of it. Barca right now apparently are confident he's going to be fine to play on Tuesday, and we have seen Alba before ahead of big games have certain problems, but in the end, he always seems to be involved, and much like Dest, I'd expect him to play. But up next, of course, we have to discuss and delve into the recovery of Ansu Fati right now, because he's one of those players who we're all sitting around thinking, okay, when are we going to see him again? Now, of course, the aim had always been for Ansu Fati to return after the international break. That was no secret. That was even confirmed by Ronald Koeman himself. But I think the club kind of looked at the games. It was against Sevilla before it got postponed. Now against Bayern. Would it really have been the right time to throw Ansu Fati back in after such a long time, nearly a year out, with that meniscus problem? And I think in midweek, after he didn't participate at all in that training match there behind closed doors against AE Pratt, I think there was a clear understanding that, you know what, Ansu is not quite going to be back yet. He's not quite going to return as quickly as maybe we were hoping. And indeed, according to the follow reports this week on Ansu Fati, that is said to be the case. It's said right now that we may not see Ansu Fati until October, which is later than we would have expected. We were told that it would be September when Ansu Fati returned to the field. And of course right now it is unconfirmed. The club have not confirmed nor denied these reports. But I think right now, although it would be a blow and it would be disappointing, we all want Ansu to come back as soon as possible. But what's really important to note here is that there hasn't been any relapse. There is not a major problem or a major setback or or anything like that right now. I think this is simply a case of the club looking at all the data, analysing the recovery, talking with the club's medical team, and just making sure that they are taking no risks at all with Ansu Fati. Because although it may seem very frustrating, I'm sure that Ansu wants to return sooner rather than later. But he's still only 20 years old. That is the most important thing right now to bear in mind. You have to zoom out. You have to look at the long term. I would personally much rather here wait an extra few weeks, wait a little bit more time to see him back on the field, be a bit more cautious and take no risks at all, rather than rushing him back and then having a complication, having some sort of setback once again, because that would be a blow not only physically to Ansu, but mentally too. When he comes back, he needs to feel confident in his body. He needs to be 100% sure that he feels good to go, and if that takes a little bit more time, if we're waiting now until October, then so be it, because when Ansu comes back, we want to see him exactly as we remember. Speaking, though, of forwards, we do now move on to Sergio Aguero, who, of course, is still right now recovering from the calf injury that he sustained in training, of course, right back at the beginning of August, just before the Jean Gamper match, which was scheduled there to keep him out of action for around 10 weeks, which means that by the time the game against Bayern Munich comes around, Sergio Aguero will be around halfway through his recovery, meaning that we should be seeing Aguero for the very first time, of course, in a Barca shirt towards the end of the month in October. However, it was interesting that recently, just this week actually, Aguero was speaking to the media. He spoke about a number of things, and one of the things he spoke about there was his recovery. He said, "I'm fine. There's no forecast right now for my return. Of course, I'm working on my recovery. It's progressing very, very well." And he did actually say, maybe I could shorten a few weeks of recovery. So maybe there he's hoping to return a little bit ahead of schedule. But again, you don't really want to cut any corners at all. But I also liked, actually, speaking of Aguero in that interview, the way that he completely shut the door on so many of the false reports we were hearing over the course of the summer during the entire Messi situation. Because Aguero there, in that interview, flat out denied saying that he ever thought about leaving the club. Of course, you remember all the reports that said, Aguero, now that Messi's gone, he doesn't want to be here either. He said that was never, ever the case. He can't wait to wear the Barca shirt. He said he's really, really excited about that. He said that actually journalists there were very much exploiting and taking advantage of his very close relationship with Messi. And I think certainly when it comes to Aguero there, hopefully he can continue that recovery, stay injury free, of course, when he comes back. That is going to be crucial because we want to have him as an option in this team because it will help Ronald Koeman, I'm sure, a lot. Finally, though, we do, of course, have to move on to Ousmane Dembele. Many people are wondering exactly how his recovery is going, exactly when we can see Ousmane Dembele back out on the field, because much like Sergio Aguero, Dembele remains firmly on the sidelines right now as he continues to recover from the knee surgery, of course, that he underwent at the end of June, which at the time, let's not forget that Dembele was expected there to be out for around 4 months of action. That was a really cruel blow, wasn't it, for the player, for the club. Now, right now, Dembele's recovery is said to be progressing very well indeed. There's no issues at all to report, meaning that right now we can expect his return sort of similar at a time scale there to Sergio Aguero, maybe there towards the end of October, but of course given the fact that he would have been out for a significant amount of time, a third of a year it would have been, he will need time again to regain that match sharpness. And let's also not forget here about Dembele's contract situation. He is now well into the final year of his deal, but after listening to Joan Laporta over the course of this week, potentially, we could hear some news on that soon. He said the relationship we have with Ousmane is very good. He said he feels loved at the club, he feels appreciated. He said we want him to continue at the club, and a meeting has been scheduled with his agent to discuss his renewal. Laporta went on to say he's told me that he really wants to return to the pitch and wear the Barca shirt again. He said, and with the help of everybody, we are going to ensure that Ousmane, who has great quality, gets back playing, and playing often to ensure that the bad moments do not happen again. And Laporta, it's no secret that he's a very big fan of Ousmane Dembele. Barca are going to offer him a renewal, probably with reduced terms, so we'll have to wait and see whether Dembele accepts that. And the club, like I say, seemingly not keen there to lose Dembele on a free in the coming summer. Laporta wants him in this team and making an impact for Barca. And I'm just wondering, guys, how are you feeling right now, and what will you feel about Dembele coming back into this team? Should we renew him, and can he still have an impact. So indeed, guys, that is right now the injury update when it comes to Barca in the short, medium and the long term when it comes to Dest, Alba, Ansu Fati, Kun Aguero, also Ousmane Dembele. Please leave your thoughts in the comments down below. Are you expecting the likes of Dest and Alba to be available for that Bayern game? Are you content with Ansu Fati returning a few weeks later if it means there that we won't be cutting any corners at all? And what are your hopes for Aguero and Dembele when they come back into this team? Please do let me know all of those thoughts down below. And of course soon, we'll be getting started on all of the Barca versus Bayern build-up. I'll see you soon for that, guys. And I thank you indeed for watching. But until next time, as always, Visca El Barça.